Classroom management is a gaslighting mechanism some districts and principals will use to take the self-control responsibility off the student for various reasons, primarily financial, and then just place them on teachers who now have to magically have to figure out how to soothe the antsiness of these same kids. I had a principal a little over a decade ago gaslight teachers by using the lingo of the master teacher, this elusive title of master teacher. And this principal will say things in regards to that, such as, well, a master teacher will do this, and a master teacher will be able to do that. And a master teacher will be able to teach the most obstinate, defiant student, bringing them over to the side of light. That is what that principal at that time would say to me about being a master teacher. I've come to realize that students practice self-control in the first place. This wouldn't be a topic of discussion. Now, teachers who can handle students should not be a real thing. Allow me to explain what I mean by this. Over the years, I have been praised and recognized for an uncanny ability to manage student behavior, paying homage to excellent classroom management standards. Yet, I have come to the painful realization that I may not be as good of a teacher as my ego will fool me into thinking, when the reality is that I may have been hiding, resting on my laurels about my actual teaching ability. Meaning that since I'm so good at classroom management and it's so prized by my superiors, that would just simply mean I do not have to work on other areas of my craft. And in some cases, I have entered a state of complacency during those select years as a teacher, which means I've compromised the art and science of teaching content due to classroom management being a big deal by others. But in some districts and individual campuses by themselves, where good behavior is the standard and not a luxury, where how you teach content for students to receive understand it is under a microscope, I can't really get away with just being good at getting kids to cooperate. That alone is not going to be enough. As friends who are now former colleagues left to work in other districts that are smaller or better managed, they have happily informed me that students are trained and used to a standard of behavior. So that means controlling themselves and upholding a learning expectation is not this foreign concept. In these districts, discipline issues are a myth, which means behavior management is equivalent to the very crime-free future Wesley Snipes finds himself in Demolition Man as the formidable Simon Phoenix, seeking to rectify that notion. So now we have ISS rooms collecting cobwebs and probably use more for storage purposes or to simply keep the ISS teacher locked away like Milton from Office Space.
Excuse me. Excuse me. But okay, but that's the last straw.
When behavior truly is not an issue, a teacher's mettle can truly be tested on how well they were hired to do the one job that they have, and that's teach. You know, I find Key and Peele's substitute teacher skit to be very brilliant, where Keegan-Michael Key plays the traumatized Mr. Garvey, who clearly shows signs of PTSD from inner city dealings of public education. I think this skit perfectly illustrates my points about classroom management. Now, Mr. Garvey's long-term urban school conditioning is reflected in his unnecessary, over-the-top aggression and proclivity to pronounce any name as if it comes straight from the Ebonics dictionary, and it being a direct result of having to manage rather than teach unruly students.
Ron.
Hold on, don't get me wrong. Substitute teachers should not be expected to teach anything. Heck, they technically shouldn't have to manage anything either. Now, ideally, subs should be able to walk into a classroom, say, here's the assignment to students, and have the option to walk out if that were ever given to them. Yet in all seriousness, it's the teacher's job to leave behind detailed instructions to eliminate confusion and make the sub's life easier with the beginning and end to follow in an itinerary left for the sub. Now, going back to Key and Peele's Mr. Garvey skit, the sub has traded the urban for the suburban. Now, he's now subbing at this more milquetoast, mild-mannered environment where his antics shouldn't even be necessary. Unfortunately, the hood mindset is a demonic psychosis where you can take the person out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the person. And Mr. Garvey is a victim of this hysterical programming from years of possibly enduring gangbangers named Marquise and baby mamas to be. When you're working in a dysfunctional environment for so long, negativity and brokenness becomes your new normal without something external to remind you that, hey man, this crap isn't normal. You need to cut that out. And here he goes again with that Bible talk. But yes, because for me, we already know that it is the Bible and it's the Holy Ghost. And when you are shown and introduced to different and better, it's easy to align yourself and break the hypnotic spell sinful lifestyles place you in. But that's a topic for another time. In this new school, Mr. Garvey is still in fight mode with his guards up with the kids who really don't want any smoke, but they truly want to learn. Now, let me go ahead and get the obvious out the way, because while all the students are majority Caucasian, Black culture has done an excellent job of equating learning and being productive as white and indulging in evil and dysfunction as Black, which is why when Black students who use standard English, they call it talking white, which is crazy as hell. It's ridiculous how we gave productive actions these racial labels, which makes you wonder who is really more obsessed with race. The whole premise of this skit was the mispronouncing of Caucasian names with Ebonical Urban Dictionary dialect. The inside joke is African American culture is creative in all the wrong areas, especially when it comes to names, which should mean something, but again, a conversation for another day. That's why common names such as Aaron get the Aaron treatment, or Denise is known as the legendary MC D-Nice.
My name is D-Nice. My name is D-Nice.
Bringing this back to classroom management, because of Mr. Garvey's past traumas in the school system, he unnecessarily becomes hostile to a group of kids who honestly seems to be okay with the expectations and standards of the school that they're in. If there were ever a prequel to this skit, what we may see is a healthy, intelligent African-American man who was starry-eyed in the beginning, looking to dip his toe in the waters of teaching and contribute to building the next generation, only to watch him descend into madness over time, teaching to a very abusive urban community who frankly fight tooth and nail for their right not to be taught. Unfortunately, this is what's happening across many school districts, not just inner city, lean on me, dangerous mind types of campuses, as the youth has unanimously embraced and adopted certain cultural norms that others are trying to run away from, especially those in the African American community. Entitled Caucasian students now feel empowered to speak their mind and spout their opinion, disregarding the teacher's authority in the classroom. I guess you could thank the "what did you say to my child" sort of parents for placing a battery in the back of these children. Both sides are putting teachers in a predicament where they have to learn classroom management. And only that which is what elevates teachers to public scrutiny of glorified babysitter, because I can assure you that no learning is happening whatsoever. Maintaining and containing chaos and anarchy is the primary learning objective. Classroom management is becoming increasingly difficult because the respect factor is being lost. In the chapter from my book, Trouble in Paradise, titled Respect, here is what students truly adhere to without all the resistance and struggle. You have to give respect to earn it. Bullshat. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and anyone richer than you have already earned your respect, and they haven't given you a doggone thing nor know you from a can of Sherwin paint. Why? Because people respect titles and positions and not necessarily the person unless your name carries weight. The title of teacher is the most undervalued position in America, which is why students easily disrespect it. A title that once carried prestige now has the sheen of horse manure. Like many things, this reduces respect to a transaction rather than something to be deeply understood. From this standpoint, you can guarantee that you will still be disrespected. Years ago, a middle school I worked for hired a former 5-star collegiate athlete, a quarterback, for this prestigious university. If you want to learn how to truly gain respect without having to fight for it, check out the chapter Respect in my book. Link will be in the pinned comment and description below.